Before we begin, let me paint a little bit of a scenario for you. Now, you're sitting there one day and you've figured out there are a few different problems around the world and you want to solve one of them. Now, you come up with a brilliant idea, and that idea is for a solution to said problem. Now, you take that solution, you take that idea and make that a reality. You either do it yourself or you do it with the help of a couple of friends, and you build out a product. There you go. You've got a product that is ready to solve a problem now. Next, you've got your first user. You've got your first user, potentially your first paying customer. And lo and behold, you have a product business. That is the beginning of your product business journey. Now, let's fast forward to about maybe a few months down the line, maybe a couple of years down the line. Now, things are going really, really well, and you want to take the next step. That step is all about growth. How do you grow your business? Now, you can do that in a few different ways. That could entail you starting a new product line. You might want to expand the capabilities. You might want to expand into the world of services. You might want to expand into new regions. You might want to expand into new channels and platforms that you want to do. You want to have new users, and you want to ideally increase your revenue. But that's not all. When it comes to product growth, while these are all the good stuff that goes with it, there are also challenges that come with it. With an expanding product, you need potentially a growing team. Growing team means you need to manage how they interact with your product. Now, beyond that, you also need to think about how you get better insights into how your product is doing, what's sort of working, what is not working. Also, additionally, you need to make sure that you've got the right monetization strategies in place so that your product is growing as well as making money in a very simplified manner. And all of this while you are making sure that things are done securely and at the same time without really incurring your cost and trying to optimize the total cost of ownership of your business. So while there is a huge objective in terms of why and how you would grow, there are growing pains associated with it. And there are tools and platforms. What are those tools and platforms that can help you get to that journey, help you make that reality, that growth strategy of yours a reality, while addressing some of the challenges that come along the way? So that is going to be the topic of our conversation today. We are going to be talking about enabling API-led product growth with Tyk and Moesif. In today's agenda, we are going to be looking at what is Tyk. We'll start off with what both of these platforms, Tyk and Moesif, are and how integrating Tyk and Moesif, what would that look like? What would that bring to the table, the capabilities and things to consider? Then we'll be looking at managing endpoints with Tyk and what that entails through a demonstration and what using Moesif for product-led growth would look like in the form of a demonstration as well. So what is Tyk? Tyk is a cloud-native API management platform that is powered by an open source API gateway. The API gateway is essentially the heart and the brains of our entire platform, and it essentially enables the entire computation. All of the different capabilities that come with API management in our platform is all powered through this API gateway. Beyond the open source gateway, what we enable is API security, together with separation of concerns. We'll go a little bit deeper into what all of that really means and looks like, but typically, when you're looking at APIs, you need to make sure that those APIs are secure, and we make that possible. Then we've got support for GraphQL and data integration. As an organization, you might have a lot of different API styles or a lot of different data sources which you might want to integrate, combine, manage, and support. We've got support for GraphQL, REST APIs, SOAP, gRPC, all of the different API styles that you can think of as a business that you might need as part of your API portfolio. We've got support for it. Beyond that, we've got customization through plugins. Your needs may change over a period of time or may have something that may not be available out of the box with Tyk. And that's where you might need the ability to extend our platform. And we've got that available in multiple different languages that you might want to use. And finally, we are enforcers of governance and policies. And this goes back to, again, as a team, if you're growing, then there are going to be changing needs. There's going to be need to centralize policies and access control rules and things that will be beneficial to make sure that your growing benefits, the benefits of growth is not outweighed by the pains of growing as well. So this is where we come in and we have all of these capabilities available to you. So that is a really, really brief introduction to the world of Tyk. What the platform itself looks like is that, like I said, the API gateways are the heart and center, front and center of the product itself, the API platform. It does all the computation, everything, all the different capabilities of API management is pretty much powered by the API gateway, the open source API gateway. Now, on the left-hand side, we've got ways to interact with the API gateway, which is you can interact with it using a CLI as well as our Tyk dashboard. The dashboard is a graphic user interface that enables you to interact in a really simple and easy to use manner with all of the different capabilities of the gateway. On the right-hand side, we've got the developer portal, which is essentially a really lightweight content management system that enables you to publish and catalog your APIs and make it available to third-party developers as well as partners for consumption and building out their own products based off of the APIs that you as an API provider might provide. And then finally, we've got the Tyk pump, which is quite important for today's conversation specifically because the Tyk pump is basically our observability layer. It powers the capabilities of monitoring, analytics, all of the different things, and it does it in two different ways. One is that it powers and provides all of those different abilities and sends that information back to the dashboard, which you can then consume using the Tyk dashboard itself. But beyond that, if you're in an organization, you have external platforms for monitoring, for analytics, like we will be seeing with Moesif today, the Tyk pump also enables you to export or send the information out onto those systems and integrate with those systems really, really simply, making it a really powerful tool as a core and center of your overall product stack.
What is Moesif? So if you haven't heard of us before, essentially, if you go to our website, you're going to see that we're an API and product analytics product. Okay, so we're a SaaS product that allows you to look at a bunch of different insights. But really the difference between us and some other analytics platforms is you can look at those analytics. You can figure out, hey, what's exactly going on with my API usage or what's going on with my products, my features, all these types of things, and then actually action that. And that's what you can see over here on the right is we do monitoring and alerting. So, pretty standard stuff, but very important. But we can do it a little more fine-grained. We have behavioral emails that allow you to say, if a user experiences this specific error, or if a user is doing this specific thing or going to this specific API, we can send them a customized email. And you can really, really fine-tune these. That's really important for when we start talking about product-led growth stuff. We also have governance rules as well that we can do at our layer on top of the stuff that Tyk does, where if someone, let's say, looking at the thing beside it, API monetization, we can help you to monetize. And then what we can do is we can stick in a governance rule that essentially says, hey, if a customer has an overdue invoice, block them from being able to access that API. And from the API monetization perspective, we can integrate with Stripe, ChargeBee, Recurly, and give you, in a matter of a couple minutes, a way to be able to start monetizing APIs. And we do that all together with Tyk. And if you did want to see exactly how that works out, I can definitely happy to send over some information as well. We hear this a lot, in the industry right now is product-led growth. I'm going to give you my spin on it, but what I did do was took a snippet from productled.org, which is one of the main areas focusing on this. And essentially what they're saying is, product-led growth or PLG is where, user acquisition, expansion, conversion, and retention are all driven by the product and are front and center. So, a great example would be, self-service. If I'm able to go in and acquire users, expand those customers, convert them, retain them, and I can do that kind of at what works best for that user, that's product-led growth. There's obviously a ton of different ways to do it. There's tons of books out there. But the best contrast is sales-led growth. So when we first start to use a product, what we might see is sales-led growth, where you want to use it, you want to sign up, but first you got to talk to the sales team, and then every single step of the process, adding a feature, something like that, requires some type of manual intervention. That would be less product-led growth savvy. So if you want to go to the next slide, Buddha, we'll look at how this product-led growth is applicable to APIs and API businesses. So what you generally hear a lot is, APIs as products. And let's think of that, the fact that most of the value that's driven, whether it's from a front-end application or whether it's from an API only or API first application, the value usually still lies within the APIs. So that's really what we need to do. We need to look at it as when we talk about API-led growth or product-led growth, they're very interchangeable in a sense. But let's look at a couple specifics here. So the first one, when it comes to APIs and API businesses, is the ability to self-serve. So users should be able to go through the entire setup process and use the product without having to talk to anybody. They should be able to set up trials, POCs. Basically, being able to initiate using that product should be self-service. Then once they've actually signed up, their onboarding and user guidance should be very tailored. This means, users should not log into the product or go to the API and ask, what's next? Or why am I using this? They should be able to see the value in that right away. And if they're getting some type of error, let's say an integration error, or they're getting, even like any type of 400 or maybe a 500 error, being able to guide them into what's going on and how to fix it automatically is super important for the onboarding and user guidance. And then lastly is kind of this last point, which is overall developer experience. And one thing that's talked about a lot with product-led growth is, time to value, or that aha moment. What you should be able to do is that developer should be experiencing value very, very quickly. If you have to spend an hour trying to integrate with an API, that developer experience is not great. But if you can integrate with an API and use it and plug it into your product in 5 minutes and see a massive amount of value, that's great. And that's going to lead to that retention and that conversion that you're likely going to want when it comes to growing your business.
Right. So, and just to extend on what Matt just mentioned, I think there is one key element there also, is that all of those different things, again, enable you to go to market really, really quickly with any new product or service that you might want to, launch, and as part of your growth strategy. Plus, at the same time, you're getting those different insights available and making use of those insights to make decisions on an ongoing basis in an iterative way. And the easier you make the adoption of that entire journey, the better it is going to be for you as a business as well. So all of those different key elements are very, very important. So taking all of those things into account, we're going to be looking at what creating the stack of Tyk and Moesif together can enable. So on the Tyk side, we're going to be looking at configuring Tyk means creating your Tyk instance. You're going to be integrating different APIs together and managing and securing said APIs. On Moesif side, we'll be looking at integrating. The integration with Moesif is going to bring in the use of Moesif's Tyk plugin, the PUM, and I'll be showing you how that works. We'll be looking to get data flowing into Moesif from the different API calls that we'll be making, and then fine-tuning the analytics configuration, and we'll again go into the details of that. Now, putting all of that together, what we are really looking to do is to power your growth, build better products and experiences by diving into the analytics, user funnels, retention, all of the different things, all of the different capabilities, both at the API management layer as well as Moesif's observability layer, to bring together ways in which you can guide your customers through alerts and automated emails, monetize those APIs in a matter of minutes. So that is going to be our objective. That is what we're going to be looking to accomplish. Now, we're going to be looking a little bit deeper into the Tyk segment of things, followed by Moesif after that. And to kick things off, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the API lifecycle and the management of said lifecycle. There are typically, you've got API providers, you've got your API consumers. On the side of API providers, these are folks who are building the APIs or API-based products. And now they are the ones who are concerned about the creation, the security, the management, the testing and the publishing of APIs, so that the API consumer can then consume those APIs, build out their own products on top of it, monitor, as well as optimize on an ongoing basis based off whatever they are doing, and making it really easy for them to discover those APIs. And that's the typical sort of API lifecycle journey that you would see with API-based products. Where Tyk sort of comes in is for API products, you've got a whole range of different capabilities, starting with access control, rate limits, quotas, debugging, middleware, API designer, and a few different things, analytics, policies, versioning, auth-z, auth-n, all of those different capabilities come in with the API provider side. On the API consumer side, we've got documentation, self-servicing, testing, enrollment, discovery, all of these capabilities required for them to not only consume those APIs, but also build out their own products that can then be utilized by external users. Now, just going a little bit further into the different capabilities of Tyk, and what we are really, really focused on is bringing separation of concerns. Now, this is a very important aspect of API security, where you have now, with an API management product, you've got an abstracted layer which takes away the security and administrative logic out of the business logic layer of your microservices. This makes things a lot more flexible, as well as a lot easier for you to add your microservices, add to your microservices. Adding in new services into your overall stack becomes a lot easier because the API management layer acts as an umbrella, essentially, a way for you to enable and enforce your security policies and rules across all of the different microservices that you may have as part of your stack. Now, we've got out-of-the-box support for all modern authentication authorization methodologies, authentication tokens, OAuth 2.0, mutual TLS, any of the different capabilities are back. All of those different things, together with Open Policy Agent, if you're looking at policies, all of those different things are available at the moment with Tyk right out of the box. Beyond that, we are also looking to avoid single points of failure, which means that we believe in delegating responsibility as well. And a lot of enterprises tend to have this kind of a stack where you're not just looking at a single product that is trying to do everything, but you've got multiple systems, whether that is identity providers for your security requirements, that is monitoring and analytics platforms like Moesif. You want to delegate responsibility to systems that are dedicated to solve specific problems of your product. And Tyk, again, works really, really well, bringing all of those different multiple components to work cohesively through a single unit, which is where Tyk comes in, bringing it all together as opposed to having to manage every single one of those different things completely separately. Next, we've got flexibility. Now, when it comes to growth, at any point of time, your requirements over a period of time will change. What your strategy is today may change and vary, and based off of that, your security needs may change, your business objectives may change, compliance requirements may change, and you need to have a platform that is capable of handling all of those different things, whether that is changing API architectures, changing API styles. An agnostic platform or platform agnostic API management solution is going to help you through that journey by integrating with your current stack, as well as by providing customizations if you need any further extensions that is required. Then we go into governance. Again, as your team is going to be growing, you need to have ways in which you manage and maintain your APIs better. Now, what governance is all about? Governance is about putting policies in place such that it is easy for people to do the right thing, but hard to do the wrong thing. Now, just to understand that a little bit, as your teams grow, there's going to be multiple team members who are going to be working on different aspects of your product, and you need to make sure that you've got the right policies and access control mechanisms in place so that things don't go wrong, as well as enable and encourage them to actually experiment in a safe environment so that they know that they're not going to be bringing down the entire system by a single config update. This, obviously, as we spoke about, we've got access control mechanisms with RBAC and Open Policy Agent that is already available with Tyk. We've got versioning capabilities available to support your versioning strategy as well as retirement strategies, and we play really well with CI/CD workflows as well. Next, we've got expansion across different regions. Now, what you can do with Tyk is you can deploy gateways locally, but manage them globally using a single control plane. And that is really, really important because that, again, reduces the need to have siloed teams or teams that are dedicated, again, to handle individual systems across individual regions. This is going to help you out a lot where you're looking to expand across data centers, across regions, and still provide a low latency solution that is with a localized experience and being still managed at a global level. And finally, we've got API insights where you need to understand your API usage, whether something is going right or whether something is going wrong. You need to understand that through monitoring, reporting, and auditing capabilities, which Tyk provides, plus having the ability to integrate with external systems to go even deeper, to get those fine-grained solutions, whether that is about API insights or monitoring or any kind of security requirements that you may have around those through alerts and other mechanisms. So that is where Moesif comes in.
Yeah, so on top of all of the Tyk stuff, there's a product aspect to it that we really want to focus on. And, when we talk about product-led growth, what we're really looking at is kind of an encompassing approach. So we don't want sales and product and engineering and everything to be separate. What we really want to do is have a cohesive view of the business that allows us to see, really where are customers struggling, what are they loving, what are they not liking, those types of things. So for product-led growth with Moesif, the types of features that we're going to use are, user and company tracking so that we can get user and company insights. We'll also be looking at alerting. So alerting on specific conditions, whether it could be a positive condition, or it could be a negative condition that we want to help people with. We'll look at behavioral emails, because behavioral emails, as we know, but emails are probably the easiest way to put bumpers into your product. Obviously, you can do in-app stuff, but that becomes relatively complex. So let's dial it down a little bit and then look just at behavioral email side. Then we'll look at governance rules on top of the Tyk one. So Tyk does great governance in terms of access to the APIs, these types of things. Our governance just allows you to apply governance based on specific conditions. So it's really, it works really, really well with Tyk to make sure you've really got things locked down. And then lastly, we'll talk about billing meters. So it's great to have a product, but it's even better if you can make money off that product. So we can look at billing meters very briefly as well and how that works within Moesif. So the first one that we're going to look at is user and company insights. So, with user and company insights, essentially every single API call is going to be stamped with a user ID and a company ID. That stuff we can set up as part of the integration. It's very easy to set up. But we can query for certain insights. So we can do dynamic type of queries, almost like SQL in a sense, where we can go through and monitor, and filter out based on very specific conditions. We could also have dashboards. So if we had some queries that we really liked, or some charts that we really, really liked that we thought were pertinent to a specific, maybe subset of our company, or something even personally that we want to look at, we can create a dashboard with that. And then lastly, we have lots of other functionalities on top of this, but the most important, I feel, for product-led growth is user funnels and company funnels. So we can look at stuff like, feature adoption. What's the path to feature adoption? What is even if we look at logins, like how many customers return a second time, and then how many customers on top of that return a third, fourth, and fifth time, which is what I'll show you in the demo. Those can be important because then you're able to try and tweak stuff and then look at the metrics to say, did this actually make an impact, and are we actually helping customers? So the next part that we'll look at is alerts. And again, nothing super fancy here, except for the fact that we can really dial it in terms of specific conditions to do with a company or a user. So we can do alerts for engineering teams. So stuff like latency and errors we could alert on. We could also do alerting for customer success teams, where if a user's stuck or they might need assistance, we could actually let the customer success team know, hey, this user is having an issue, and allow them to contact that user. Or we could also talk about alerts for product teams, where maybe a product team is putting out a new feature, and whenever there's an issue with adoption of that feature, they want to be alerted on it. Instead of going in and having to constantly monitor a dashboard, they want to be alerted when a specific condition is met. So that we can do that as well. Behavioral emails. So we want to use behavioral emails to guide users in onboarding, so we can send automated and customized emails. And that's the thing. You don't want to send an email to a customer that's not relevant. It's great when you're first doing the onboarding emails, but imagine if, on day 3, you've already integrated with the product, and on day 3, you get an email that says, hey, have you tried integrating? Well, I've already integrated, so this value of this email is less. And actually, it's going to really dim your emails in the inbox, because they're going to go, oh, the last one that I got, or the last 2 that I got, weren't super relevant. So relevancy matters, and being able to guide users in onboarding through behavioral emails is important. You could also do it to resolve user issues. So maybe after a user gets 10 401s within a 24-hour period, or maybe if they get, 10 500 errors within a 24-hour period, or even a 5-minute period, you're going to let them know, because they might not know that. Maybe it's in their logs or something like that, but it's better to be proactive. And last is to give user tips and tricks. So if you've brought out a new feature and someone's using that new feature, why not help to guide them? So maybe you could send them a guide, you could send them to the docs, you could do lots of things to really allow them to extract value without having to search for it in your website or something like that. And then governance rules, so we can block malicious users. So if there's specific company or user traits that you're like, you know what, I really don't want them hammering this endpoint, you could do that. We could also block users with overdue invoices, or we could block users really based on any type of overdue stuff. We could also restrict unwanted behaviors. So if we see that there's some unwanted behaviors and we can quantify that in terms of creating a filter. Any filter that you can create, you can essentially block users based on that. And then billing meters. So I believe this is actually the last piece that we'll look at here, which would be really about enabling self-serve API usage. So being able to sign up and then walk through, basically from sign up all the way to invoicing. You want to be able to self-serve. Supporting multiple billing providers. So maybe if you have a large business, maybe some parts of the business want to use Stripe, some want to use Recurly. You can do all that. We can actually support multiple billing providers within a single platform. And then you can really fine tune what users are billed for. So you could bill based on company. You could say users at X company are going to get this rate. Users at this other company are going to get this rate. You can dial it in by endpoint. You can dial it in by response. You can even dial it in based on which headers are present or what elements are present in the body of the request. So there's lots of fine tuning that you can do there.